You know, can be explained by the contact you had with your late grandfather many years ago?
I would say so, and much of the foundation is from my family and the surrounding area that I grew up in, Canarsie, Brooklyn.
Well, what about your grandfather influenced you?
Well, my grandfather, he was an elderly gent and who had been born in Italy, came over here, had a family of 13, was a ditch digger. He used to support 13 children on $2 a week. To save a nickel, would walk from Canarsie, Brooklyn, all the way to City Hall, where he was digging ditches at the time. And these were the types of ideas that I was imbued with. One thing that I always used to do, whether it was listening to my grandfather or the other elderly, I would sit for hours and listen to them. Now, naturally, they would tell the same stories many times over. But I learned more from their stories and
I understand that he did something the family thought he was crazy, or his neighbors thought he was crazy. He cleaned the whole street.
Oh, he used to get a broom, and he was bent over because he was very old and he could barely straighten up. And he would take this big sanitation broom and sweep down the street all the way, and he would talk to the neighbors and ask them
not only his own house, not only in front of his own house.
He was never just concerned with his own property. He was always concerned with other people. And naturally, when you have that as a role model, plus my family itself and the community, it just rubs off on you. And the biggest thing, Gabe, is as I was growing up...
Your father was a labor organizer, right?
No. My dad was a merchant seaman.
A merchant seaman. Wasn't he in the union or something?
Well, he was in the union, but not as a labor organizer. And he used to sail all over the world. But the biggest thing is I got involved in volunteer service at about the age of 13 or 14. I started collecting garbage. Long before there was Earth Day and there was a fashionable word called recycling.
Right.
Bottles, cans, newspapers. Right. And I had turned my whole yard and basement into a virtual junkyard. Now, at that time, most parents would have had a fit. Would have thought that their son's brain was made out of Swiss cheese, that he had gone off the board. But my parents gave me support, because they never stopped me.
That was during the days of the ecology...
No, this was before, Gabe. This was before you had recycling centers and people even understood the concept. I would have to get big industrial suppliers to send trucks down to cart the tons off.
How did you get the name Rock?
Well, Rock I had gotten when I went to high school. I attended Brooklyn Prep, a Jesuit high school in the city. And I used to have a hectic schedule. It used to be student government, football, baseball, recycling.
You were president of student council,
yes,
right?
Newspaper boy. Yeah. I mean, I had everything going, but I was on the go. And many times I had a virtual lack of sleep. And I always was good in terms of defending myself and physically well fit, so the name just hung on me in my junior year and stood with me the rest of the way.
You told someone a story about a delicatessen where you took somebody on in a fight, right?
Well, I happened at that particular time, there was an elderly German man, and he had a delicatessen there. And there was a local gang of hoodlums that was just coming in and just taking stuff, stuffing themselves, and running out. And one particular day, I was on my way after football practice into the delicatessen, and here was these bunch of hoods just ripping off this man, the man virtually in tears, and I stopped one of the guys, and actually the gang turned back, but I took the guy and I put him right through the plate glass window over there, throwing him outside. He was all dressed, you know, like a gang member in leather jacket, so he didn't get hurt. But it was a symbol. It was an act stating that, hey, you know, leave this man alone. And
how old were you?
Enough. At the time, I was about 17 years old.
Now, that was a Jesuit school, a strict school.
Yes,
very you were the president of the student council, and just before you graduated, you were kicked out. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I forget the priest's name, Father
Alexander. That was the headmaster.
Yeah, why did he kick you out?
The big issue in the Jesuit high school was the wearing of jacket and tie. And a plebiscite had been taken by the students not to wear the jacket and tie. And I was attempting as student government president to get that point across. In a Jesuit high school, there is no room for disagreement. Now, I was given enough rope to hang myself. I will admit this. I did not back off. I kept pressing it because I always believed to be a man of action, not just to be a man of words. We had a disagreement. I left the school on my own premonition, and then I went to fulfill the education in Canarsie High School, but I was so totally thrown off by walking into Canarsie High School, a public high school facility, in comparison to the school I had been into. I just washed my hands of it. I said I wanted no part of it any longer.
And you had scholarships?
I had scholarships to Harvard, Brown, Princeton. But I tell you one thing, Gabe, I didn't have time to rest. My dad told me, hey, it's $70 a week in rent, or it's back to school. And I went out and I started pumping gas as a gas jockey at night, hitting cans in the morning, packing shelves at an A&P, and making it.
Yeah. You never regretted that you didn't go to college?
Well, I think in my particular time, it was good for me because it leveled me off. It put my feet down on the ground. I got to see men who had to now feed families. I got to see the working relations in the community. I became a manager in A&P. I became a manager in a McDonald's fast food chain. I learned what the business community was about.
When you were at McDonald's, wasn't that the genesis of the whole guardian angel idea when you used to go out with this fellow you described as a Chinese-American guy? Mm-hmm. You went out into the trains with him at night?
We actually were just going home at night after locking up the stores because we were the night managers, and we would see tremendous amounts of crime. And in the case of seeing these crimes, many times getting involved physically in either altering it, deterring it, or making citizens arrest. That's where we tested the concept of the citizen having a right to make an arrest.
And then you would pretend you would be the decoy?
I would be the decoy in the rear car, just acting in a normal manner, carrying a big portable cassette radio, dressed in a nice three-piece suit with patent leather shoes, you know, and reading a copy of the day's newspaper.
And your pal, a Chinese guy?
Well, he would be way up in front. And naturally, he would be alerted to the scene when an instance was going on, when people would be ripping me off. But really, in essence...
So what did they do? They went after you and then...
Oh, all the time.
I was no different... And then you'd suddenly start beating...
no, not beating them up.
The other guys?
Understand, you cannot beat them up. But as they were attempting to rip me off, my other friend would come to my aid. Now, we were both skilled in the art of self-defense. We would be able to take the people down and turn them over to the police. I might add, Gabe, if you touch somebody, if you pop somebody good, in this town, the way the situation is, you will I'm telling you, you'll be the guy that's going to get locked up. So don't think that we just went around hitting people because we were never accused of it. In fact, in our 2-year history, never once has a guardian angel been hit with a civil lawsuit or been arrested while making a citizen's
But anyway,
arrest.
this was in 1977, and it was the genesis of the guardian angel.
Embryonic stage that led to the Magnificent 13 Subway Patrol, which was just that, just for the subways. And then it has blossomed into the Guardian Angel Safety Patrol, which deals with subways, parks, senior citizen area, buses, ferries. We're in Jersey now, Connecticut, Long Island, Westchester, California, Puerto Rico.
All right, I want to ask you about something you said. A guardian angel, you once said, is humble and shy. And we'll analyze that after we come back.
Okay.